The Dominican Republic has just introduced sweeping new legislation to strengthen the local labor market and regulate undocumented migration of Haitian people. And this could hit real estate. In fact, it will, at least in the short term. But we're going to dive in further today. This video is really for developers, investors, and serious people looking to buy down here to talk about what's changing, what that might mean, and where the opportunity lies, along with who's going to be most impacted. So let's dive in. President Abinader came out recently and announced a ton of reforms aimed really at the undocumented migrant crisis that exists here in the Dominican Republic. Here's a rundown of them. We'll put them up on screen. 100% Dominican labor required for all public construction projects. Stricter enforcement of immigration laws in private construction, including fines or shutdowns for undocumented workers. Launch of a national labor registry to verify work status. That'll come in 30 to 60 days from now. Increased focus on deportations of undocumented Haitian workers. Suspension of temporary work permits for foreign nationals. A proposed 25% wage increase in free trade zones, and a proposed 30% wage increase in the tourism sector, and new training and employment support programs for Dominican workers entering construction. Now remember, those wage increases are proposed. They haven't been implemented yet. But the idea is if they move Haitian labor out, they would replace it with local Dominican labor at a cost. You can see how this can create pricing pressure. But let's go deeper. Anytime low-cost labor is replaced with higher-cost labor, there are growing pains. There is a shock to the system, especially in something labor-intensive like real estate development. In the short term, what you'll see is higher construction costs, increased pressure on pricing, upward pressure on pricing, slower delivery timelines, delays in affordable or mid-range housing supply, and then buyer hesitation. Again, all in the short term. And for the lower income Dominicans out there, this actually could reduce access to housing, at least temporarily, as developers start to look for projects and build projects with more margin that are more profitable. Now look, that all sounds great in theory, and it all makes sense, right? But I wanted to look and see what happened when these sorts of things have happened in the past. So let's look historically at when lower cost labor was replaced or moved out, and the ripple effect both short-term and long-term. But before we do, if you're new to the channel, my name's Jamie Gruber. I moved to the Dominican Republic with my family in 2022, and I share all about life, investing, and everything else down here on this channel. Today, I'm on the beach, hanging out at a place called Cana Club, which is local to where I live. And honestly, I'm in love with this country, and I love sharing news, good, bad, or otherwise, because I believe in the long-term future of this country, because I've seen a ton of progress in the 15 years that I have been coming here. So whether you're new or not, hit the subscribe button, please. It helps me grow, and I want to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. Let's talk about some global conditions in the past. All right, so the first one I haven't written down here is the California agriculture crunch from a few years back. So this was where there was a crackdown on undocumented migrants in the ag sector in California. What you saw in the short term was reduced labor, increased prices, and farms having to go through a process of going from relying on low-cost labor to relying on automation. You're actually starting to see that here in DR a bit. Even in the 3 years I've been here so far, when you go through sugarcane fields, you see guys with machetes chopping them down because they're really inexpensive. But as economic pressure persists over the last couple of years, and even as labor is dwindling because of deportation efforts, you're starting to see these big farms invest in technology and machinery to do the job that labor once did. And that's exactly what you saw in California. So in the short term, very painful, costs went up. In the long term, the industry adapted and prices were relatively flat, slightly up, but you could even just blame that on inflation over time. But something else key to know as we go through this is some farms folded, other farms automated and survived, but the big ones really thrived. Keep that in mind. Another example is the UAE, United Arab Emirates. Everybody knows Dubai, that's in the UAE. And they went through something that is probably the most direct comparison to what DR is going through. And when we talk about long-term results, this might be where DR is going. So pay attention on this one. At some point in the recent past, there was a pressure to get rid of migrant low-cost labor, to decrease labor abuse and improve upon working conditions, which led to higher costs. They also went through a visa reform process, which eliminated a lot of South Asian labor. Kind of take Haitian, replace it with South Asian, and you see the comparison. In the short term, what happened? Development slowed significantly for a period of time. Small developers struggled to survive, and the larger developers shifted toward higher margin, higher luxury products. Because look, at the end of the day, when people have money, it doesn't matter what the economic cycle is. They can afford to buy it, so you go up. You don't go down when you're going through economic hardship, meaning you sell to people with more money, higher priced, higher luxury products. You don't sell down because those are the folks that hold on to their money more. And over the long haul, you saw that as the trend. The market rebounded and then some, but it was up market sales, higher cost sales, higher cost development that fueled that upward pressure on pricing and fueled the real estate market. You can see where this would be a challenge for many that live in the Dominican Republic, but an opportunity for many others. Again, we'll come back to that. Then there was Brexit. When Brexit happened, a lot of Eastern European labor moved out. I mean, part of the Brexit movement was they wanted more control over immigration policy. So they got rid of Eastern European labor. They went back into the EU. That caused construction prices to go up. It caused the price of housing to go up in the short term. And this is even though transactions dipped. So number of houses sold went down, but price of houses went up as a result. And the government got involved putting together vocational training programs to upskill local labor. More expensive labor, but local labor. In the UK's case, vocational training took some while to implement. The housing market rebounded. It's doing just fine, but timelines on construction are for sure delayed still to this day. So if we assess what this means for the Dominican Republic from history, what we could see is in the short term, you're going to see the squeeze. You'll see higher labor costs and slower delivery, which I know for some people are like, slower delivery, I'm already slow. I get it, but this is more pressure on that. There's a lot of potential for market consolidation, meaning small developers, the little guy gets squeezed out, and the big guy, the big contractors, the big development projects, think about the Four Seasons, the W Hotel, some of those places, Grupo Punta Cana, and so on, they thrive. In tourist zones in particular, you see a shift toward medium to higher luxury items, meaning the prices today, while you may think they're high, they only go higher. And it leads to innovation opportunities for modular, prefab, that sort of thing. Maybe constructed off property in slabs and brought to the property. So who's winning and losing here? Well, if you're buying right now, like I am, or you're about to buy while labor still is in abundant supply but is getting thinner, you're going to win before pricing adjusts because of labor increases. If you own property here already, then you will benefit from appreciating value of the market, especially as less may be developed in the short term with smaller developers maybe getting squeezed out. The larger developers, like I said, they win with the capital and the timeline and the staff to adjust and adapt to all of this. And they can go up market and sell to higher net worth individuals internationally. And honestly, there's a lot of opportunity, as I said 2 videos ago, for the Dominican worker to pivot from maybe manufacturing, where I think that'll recover in time, even with the tariff pressure, but into construction, where these proposed raises of 30% and more can actually give a Dominican worker a really good lifestyle. Unfortunately, with winners come losers, and here are some of the folks that will struggle through all of this. Number one, we said it, smaller developers. Smaller or underfunded, I should say. If they're a developer that's not adequately funded, then yeah, they're gonna feel the squeeze. I mean, of course, and some people celebrate this, but undocumented workers facing deportation, job loss, of course, they're going to feel the pressure. Just a fact, not a statement on whether that's right or wrong. And then buyers and renters that are more on a budget. This is why I've said before, a lot of people say like, oh, I'm going to wait for it to come down. Like you will see a lull here where price of housing might be sideways or a little bit down. But man, oh man, this is one of those key variables that I always talk about. It's not about timing the market. It's about time in the market. If you look at any historic trend line for real estate, stock, you name it, go back 10 years, not 1 year or 6 months or 3 days for that matter, and look at where it was versus where it is today. I mean, look, let's throw up the stock market for a second. You zoom in on the very top right, you can see a lot of volatility recently, and the news will make sure every day you know about that volatility. But you zoom out to a year or maybe 5 years, the market's nearly doubled in the last 5 years. Go back 10 years, even more. And even though you see corrections in the short term, it's still at a way higher price point than it was 5 years ago. Time in market. Don't try timing the market. I'm one of these. I waited too long to buy. I'm buying at a bit of a premium. My price is probably going to be sideways for a little bit, maybe even slightly down, but that's okay because I'm looking at 5 years from now. I'm thinking about whoever bought here 20 years ago, 10 years ago. Do they care that the market dropped a little bit? Because they're dropping from a high that they never experienced. But their property value is probably already double or triple what they paid for it. So when it comes down 10 or 15%, still winning. Time in market. So here's what I would tell you if you're an investor. This is my advice for whatever it's worth, but do your own due diligence. I would look at projects underway or near completion. In fact, the one I'm buying in, Boardwalk is building Maple Suites. It's 70%, 80% of the way there. Cost is already baked in. So if you buy in that type of property now, you're getting ahead of the next project that's going to start next year when they have to increase the price because labor prices have gone up. And for me, that window won't be open long. Down below is a link to get on the list with Boardwalk. They'll reach out to you. I would look at this property, and to double down on it, I'm a value add investor. If you follow me, you know that. Where it's being built in Cortecito, some don't believe it. They say, oh, it's never gotten better, which is BS. It's been gradually improving in that area, not from a safety perspective, just from a roads and drainage perspective. But there's too much investment there for the government not to intervene, and they've already signaled that they will. I don't know when, but they will. So you're buying not only almost done construction with current labor rates baked in, but you're also buying in an area that has upside based on infrastructure improvements that are still yet to come. And if you don't believe they're yet to come, look to the right and left. You'll see great infrastructure all around it. It's moving in that direction. If you already own a property, I'd sit. Some people message me like, oh, I don't know, the Airbnb is not great, maybe I should sell it. If you can afford to, I would hold tight on my property right now. It's the best thing to do in the short term and really in the long term. Again, time in market. What I would also do is I would follow the money. And this means look at what the big developers are doing and where they're going. Like this stuff, while you can't predict a Trump tariff, there are definitely projections done by big developers on downturns and market cycles. So when they put money into, say, Meeches, like the Four Seasons did, and Hyatt, and Hilton, and Marriott, and Secrets, and Dreams, you gotta believe they understand that there's going to be short-term market cycle turns, that a global phenomenon could happen, but they see the value long term. When the W Hotel gets developed in Ubero Alto by Grupo Punta Cana, when Punta Bergantin gets developed by Grupo Punta Cana, when that kind of a developer is putting money in Puerto Plata, in Ubero Alto, and Punta Cana, follow the money. Follow where they're going because that's probably your best path. And look, I've said it on prior videos, the emotional part of this is who it impacts negatively. Lower income Dominicans, small developers, there will be people that feel pain. I can't stop that. All I can do, I believe, is build enough wealth to help as many people as I possibly can. And I hope all of you do that as well. The way I share and help is through Second Mile Missions. There's a link down below. They seek to end poverty and human suffering here in the Dominican Republic. Feel free to donate to them. It's a great cause. But just remember this, markets don't collapse when the fundamentals are strong. This country is a nearshore partner of the United States and will continue to be. It has great fundamentals. It has a politically stable environment. All of this is happening because of free market protests against immigrant labor and undocumented immigrants being in the country. Think about that democracy. This country is allowed for that and is responding to that with increased measures. I mean, hell, there's 11,000 troops now on the border. They're building 8 more miles of border fence. Whether they execute or not, we'll see in time. For the protests that have happened, the protests that will happen, they definitely are getting the attention of those in power. The ironic part is the protesters, by forcing this action in the short term, maybe in the long term, may actually create a larger divide economically. That's not an opinion. That's literally an analysis based on everything I just talked about. It doesn't mean Haitian good, Haitian bad, migrant good, migrant bad. There's cultural dynamics. There's a lot there that I'm not going to get into, but I'm strictly speaking by the numbers. The protests have had an impact, but every action has a reaction. So we'll see what the reaction looks like. It may create a bigger divide between the wealthy and those that don't have. But anyway, this market's not collapsing. It may reshape. And when things reshape, those who move with intention, not emotion, can absolutely profit. And if you do good with those profits, God bless you. I think that's the greatest thing that any of us can do anywhere that we are, is find a beautiful place like this. Honor the fact that God blessed you without being born in Haiti or born into poverty. That you've got the ability to go out and create abundance for yourself and therefore create abundance for others. That's how I look at the world. Some can vilify me for that. That's fine. Unsubscribe. But that's my take. And listen, if you want to stay ahead on this, if you want more professionals that will help you, down below I've got links to everything you need. Realtors, developers, attorneys, happy to help. These are all partners of mine. If you decide to work with them, they will compensate me. If you decide not to, completely understood. But if you need them, they're there for you. I appreciate you being along for the ride, and I'll see you on the next video.